It happened so fast that no one could stop it. 1 second, Kim Go-eun was laughing, leaning forward slightly, the kind of carefree smile that always seemed to light up the room. And the next, she stumbled. The world slowed for Lee Min-ho. Everything else vanished. The cameras, the fans, the noise of the city, the flashing lights of the press. All that remained was her. He saw it happen and felt a jolt in his chest, sharp and urgent. Time fractured around him as he moved. Faster than instinct, faster than thought. He reached her side in a heartbeat, catching her before she hit the ground. The suddenness of it left everyone frozen. Gasps, cameras clicking, whispers, but none of it mattered. Because in that moment, all that mattered was that she was safe. Kim Go-eun's eyes widened as she looked up at him. For a moment, the words failed her. There was relief, yes, but there was also something more, something deeper, that she couldn't yet put into words. He was breathing slightly harder than usual, his chest rising and falling with rapid determination. His hands, firm but gentle, kept her steady. And in that fleeting instant, the distance between them disappeared entirely. The air seemed heavier, charged with something unspoken, a truth that had been quietly building between them, unnoticed until now. He helped her steady herself, his grip lingering just a second too long. Not out of habit, not out of accident, but because neither of them wanted to let go. Her heart pounded, her mind raced. And yet, beneath the fear, beneath the shock, there was a warmth spreading through her chest. A realization that this presence, this reaction, was not just protection. It was care. It was devotion. Lee Min-ho looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in a long while without restraint. No script, no cameras, no rehearse lines. Just him and her, standing on that bustling street, the world continuing on around them, oblivious to the silent bond that had formed. He brushed a stray strand of hair from her face, his fingers lingering against her cheek. It was a small gesture, almost imperceptible, but it carried weight. It said more than words ever could. It said, I am here. I will always be here. I won't let anything happen to you. And Kim Go-eun felt it. Every ounce of it. Every unspoken promise. Every flicker of emotion. Fans and onlookers tried to capture the moment, cameras clicking frantically, but it was impossible to frame the depth of what was happening. You could see the headlines forming in their minds, the viral clips waiting to happen. But the raw truth was untouchable. No video, no photograph could convey the quiet intensity of that instant. It wasn't just a celebrity moment. It was real. It was human. It was a kind of pure, sudden connection that leaves a lasting mark. After she steadied herself, she took a breath, trying to mask her fluttering heart. Thank you, she whispered, barely audible over the chatter of the world around them. He only nodded, his gaze unwavering. You're okay, he said simply, almost more to himself than to her. His voice held something unfamiliar, vulnerability mingled with urgency. It wasn't a line, not a performance. It was truth, and she knew it. For the next few moments, they didn't speak. They didn't need to. The city carried on, oblivious, unaware that a single heartbeat had changed everything. Even the crew, who had been documenting the day, felt a subtle shift, a tension in the air that hadn't been there before. Something had shifted between them. The world might never understand it. Fans might speculate endlessly. But in that brief, stolen moment, they knew. Days passed, and the memory lingered. Neither of them mentioned it at first. They returned to work, to interviews, to scripted smiles and rehearse lines. But behind the polite conversations and stage gestures, there was an undercurrent, a thread connecting them, delicate yet unbreakable. A reminder of the instant when it rushed her side, when instinct and heart had overridden everything else. Whenever she caught his eye, there was a flicker of recognition, a subtle nod, a soft smile. It spoke of the bond that had been forged without ceremony, without announcement. And Dylan Wong, no, Lee Min-ho, he felt it too. Every glance, every accidental touch, every moment shared off-script reminded him that this connection was real. It wasn't dictated by public opinion, by scripts, by schedules. It was theirs, The next encounter only strengthened it. They were filming a scene, ordinary on paper, ordinary in the script, but the unscripted energy between them could not be hidden. He found himself leaning just a little closer than necessary, matching her movements instinctively. She laughed a little more freely around him, letting down walls that had always been there before. The crew noticed, of course. Fans noticed immediately. But still, no one could truly capture what was happening beneath the surface. One evening, after a long day of shooting, she nearly tripped again. The memory of the previous incident flashed through his mind instantly. Without hesitation, he was there again, hands steadying her, heart racing, a silent promise in his gaze. "Be careful," he murmured, and she heard it. Not just the words, but the weight behind them. Her cheeks flushed. It wasn't embarrassment. It wasn't shame. It was recognition of the intensity of his care. A care that was no longer casual, no longer professional. It was personal. Fans began to piece things together. The subtle glances, the protective instincts, the moments where he moved faster than thought to ensure her safety. It was all there in the clips, in the viral footage. And social media exploded with speculation. They're in love. He cares for her too much for it to be just friendship. Look at how he reacts. He'd never be this way with anyone else. But for Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun, it wasn't about the internet. It wasn't about gossip. It was about the moments that only they understood. Even interviews couldn't contain the energy between them. Journalists tried to catch a reaction, tried to ask pointed questions. But in every answer, every smile, every fleeting gesture, the truth was there. He noticed her needs without her asking. She noticed the way he watched over her, without trying to make it obvious. It wasn't acting. It was real. One afternoon, after a particularly long shoot, they found themselves alone on the set. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the studio. He handed her a towel for her hair, a simple act, and their hands brushed. Neither pulled away. The brush lingered just a little longer, and that single contact sent a shiver through both of them, reminding them of the instant when he had caught her before she fell. It wasn't just physical closeness. It was emotional, too. A bond forming silently, woven through shared experiences, small gestures, and protective instincts. And Kim Go-eun realized something she had been avoiding. She trusted him, not because of words, not because of promises, but because of actions. Every time he rushed to her side, every time he made sure she was safe, every time he showed concern without being asked, it became undeniable. Lee Min-ho felt it too. He had always been careful, deliberate, reserved. But with her, his instincts were raw.